The first time that you go homeless or the first night that you have to sleep on the streets, whether it's urban, rural, out in the woods, wherever you may be, it's going to be very unnerving. You know, you might have some fears like, what if I get caught? Will I go to jail? Am I going to lose stuff? Are people going to come up and attack me? Are people going to, am I in danger? Am I under threat? Well, some of this depends upon what's going on, like nationally and regionally, with the economy, with politics, with the culture and environment of people. Because in some areas of the country, you may have to deal with people that just don't like the homeless, and so therefore it's socially acceptable to harass the homeless. But in most places of the country, most people have kindness and compassion, or as long as you leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. A lot of the stuff that you hear from people that have never been homeless that try and talk about homelessness is they try and put out fear porn, like, oh, somebody's going to come up and rob you for your bedroll. And that's really not what's going to happen. So, the reason why I've come up with these 7 steps is because I think that this will be a way to be able to ease your mind, to help you understand not only how to survive, but to give you that comfort, that solitude, that encouragement that yes, you can do this. No, it's not going to be as scary. And yes, you will be safe and you'll wake up alive tomorrow morning. As someone who's been chronically homeless for the last 25 years, off and on the streets so many times I lost count. Um, Understanding what kind of gear that you need when you are getting ready to sleep outside is very important. So, what you need to really know is, what kind of gear do I need? Do I have a sleep system? Me, I'm the type of person I like to toss, I like to turn, I like to be a side sleeper. Sleeping bags don't really work really good for me. That's why I went out and I got me a puffer wolf under or not an underquilt but a sleeping quilt, and it's really nice. It's really good. It works just like a blanket. And also you have inflatable pads, you've got foam pads, you've got self-inflating pads and stuff like that. If you're going to be sleeping in a tent versus a hammock, if you're on a tent, you need to worry about like your hips and your back and your shoulders, because that's what you're going to be putting most of the wear and tear on the day. So you need to make sure that you set your sleep system up so that your body can properly recover, so that you can sleep well through the night and get a good night's sleep. A lot of when you're doing stealth camping, or when you're doing just random dispersed camping that's not in a designed spot, like let's say on trail, it's going to be a lot harder for you to be able to keep any inflatable mattress for more than maybe a month or two, because there's always going to be something that sticks through the hole or sticks through the bottom of your tent, that's going to bother you. Okay. And it's going to cause it to pop. And so one of the things that I found that I like is I like to get one of the egg crate folding foam. They're like $20 or $30 at Walmart, to be able to get like Ozark Trail. You can find them on Amazon as well. But that's really good for giving me something, but it's also durable. Okay. And then also I have a creature comfort. I'm one of those people. I like to have a pillow. So I spent $10 on an Ozark Trail pillow. Okay. So this is your basic sleep system: your sleeping pad, your blanket, and your pillow. Okay. Because what you're going to do is you're going to put your bag right there, and then you're going to put your pillow on top of your bag. And then that way you get the elevation, and then you also get the cushion from the pillow. That's actually how you do it out here. And that's kind of how it works. Now that you've figured out that basic gear, now you need to ask yourself, am I going to do a tent or am I going to do a hammock? Unless you're in an area where there is so many trees, you can always put a hammock up. I would strongly recommend a tent. I prefer a hammock because it gives you better recovery time. It's better on the body. It's kind of like having a portable chair, because I mean, you're off the ground, you just kind of sit in it, use it as a chair. It's one of my favorite uh, pieces of gear to have. But because of the living situation and the way in which I'm always all over the place, it's much better to be able to have a tent. But also, when you're looking at that tent, you want to be able to have something that can blend in. So you want greens, blacks, and like khaki brown, or light brown, stuff like that, depending upon the region you're in. And are you in a desert? Are you in a green area? Stuff like that. Being in Florida, it's green, so I want something that's green. I don't want something that's blue. Blue is going to stick out a little bit out here, even though there's a lot of water. Okay, so the first most important step that you need to do is make sure that you have the right gear, because it doesn't really matter what else you do. If you're not going to get any sleep that night, it's going to suck. Okay, so the next thing is supplies. And it's always important to be able to get your supplies before you go to camp. Like, okay, I've got a 1 liter water bottle. I need this much water to be able to cook, to be able to clean my dishes, and to be able to do what it is that I'm doing. And so therefore, you want to make sure I have a 6 liter bladder that I carry around. And so if I know I'm going to need extra water, if I know I'm going to be in camp early, or if I know that, I'm doing stuff that's going to be heavy on the water, well, then I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to carry some extra water in with me. I'm going to make sure that I have my meals until I plan on leaving camp, which is the next morning. So either I have lunch and dinner, or I bring dinner with me. It just depends upon what it is that I grab. But having all of your supplies before you get into camp is extremely important. Make sure you do a checklist. Sit there and ask yourself, okay, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and do I have enough for drinks? And do I have enough for cleaning? And do I have all of the right stuff? Is there something else that I need? Because a lot of times once you get into camp, you're not going to leave camp unless you want to blow your camp up, especially if you're in a very risky area. So making sure to have all of your supplies on hand is extremely important before you actually head to camp. Okay, so the next thing that you need to worry about is location. Where am I going to sleep? Am I sleeping urban? Am I sleeping rural? Am I sleeping out in the woods? Am I sleeping in county area? Like, what jurisdiction am I camping? Because it's important to know not only the laws but the culture and certain other things. So, for example, when I was on the Buckeye Trail, I was doing a road walk because most of it's a road walk anyways. I was doing a road walk and I come through the city, and I went over and I talked to the lady at the gas station and made friends with her and asked her, I'm traveling. This is trail. Can I camp over there in the park? Am I going to have an issue? Well, they don't have a local police department. They have the sheriffs just come through, stuff like that. If you're in an area like that, you might want to, just out of a courtesy, let the sheriff's department know. They're not going to run your name. They're not going to check you for warrants or anything else like that, unless they actually have to come out and like have a face-to-face interaction. What it is to alert them that you were there, that you were camping, so that if somebody does get a call, that they at least have an idea. Oh yeah, there's a hiker. He called in and let us know that he was there. So therefore, it takes away a lot of your risk of the police officer discharging his weapon or getting hostile or anything else like that, because being in secret means that you're right in front of everybody's face. They don't know where you're sleeping. All they know is that you're in their county, and if they get a call about a hiker or somebody sleeping in the woods, that they already have some sort of notice about it. And then again, that's going to make your experience much better, especially if you call them, hey, I'm a hiker, I'm traveling, I'll be here tonight, I'll be gone tomorrow. Things like that. Now, when you call up the local police, they're going to tell you, "Oh, I'm sorry, you can't come here." Okay, but what they're going to do is they're going to, if you talk nice to them, if be respectful and like, uh, if you tell them that you're homeless, or if you give them indication that you're homeless, as far as the way that you speak and the way that you conduct yourself, they're not going to help you. I will tell you that right up front. I've experienced it kind of like when I was in a bad state. They ain't going to help you. But if you conduct yourself well, you communicate well, you don't give off the signs of being homeless, you tell them that you're a traveler, and they feel comfortable enough that you're telling them the truth. The local police will tell you places like, okay, if you go, the edge of our jurisdiction is here. There is a park right there, which I was told in one area, oh yeah, there's a lake, you'll be fine. Just let the county know that you're going to be there. Oh, there's a boat dock. Things like that. They will tell you where the places are that you can go and that you can be safe. Okay, but also at the same time, be kind, be respectful, and articulate yourself well. Unless you're sent to a specific area by, let's say, law enforcement or something like that, I would definitely sit back, and number four would be to observe for a few hours. Okay, you really want to sit back and observe, because sometimes, I pick up my camp every morning. I go back in the late afternoon. I go back to camp. Okay, if somebody comes between then, well, if like, let's say that was you coming and watching my camp, well, you're going to see me come in there, you're going to know that somebody's there, because the last thing you want to worry about, especially the first time you're going to camp in a place, is somebody walking up and telling you, dude, this is my campsite, what are you doing here? okay, because they're going to get aggressive, they're going to be hostile. I know I will be. And not only that, if you're not saying, okay, fine, I'll move, or hey, can we find a compromise or something, like you got to be looking to find a solution to where it works for everybody. Like, okay, I'm just here for a night. I won't be here tomorrow. I didn't know. Okay, how can we work this out? Can you set up over there? I'll stay here, and tomorrow you can have your spot back. But always make sure that you observe a spot for a few hours. It's imperative to your safety because one, you get to watch the police traffic, you get to watch the foot traffic, you get to see what's going on there. Because when you go to get into that spot, especially if you're going to be stealth camping, if you go to get in that spot, one of the most important things for you to feel safe about is to know what angles that people are going to see you. Because if people are always on one side of the street but not the other, so for example, where I'm staying at right now, it's along a rail trail. The only people who walk up and down that rail trail is maybe a local or two that's just walking their dog, but most people that are walking up and down that rail trail are the homeless. Okay, so therefore I know the traffic. There is probably about 50 to 75 feet between the trail and the road. So when cops go by there and stuff like that, I have that little space there to where I have a buffer because I'm behind an obstructed view, which is the foliage and stuff like that. So it's going to be much harder and stuff. Also, you need to figure out like what is the tone of the neighborhood? Is it loud? Is it quiet? Because if it's quiet, you need to be quiet. If it's loud, you could sit back and watch your Netflix or YouTube on your phone or whatever it is. Okay. So always make sure that you observe for a few hours before you actually take the spot. Okay, number 5 is you want to understand the locality. Okay, again, you've got county land, you've got state land, you've got city land, you've got all these different jurisdictions that you're going in and out. Especially if you're a traveler, if you're homeless, you pretty much stay in one jurisdiction. If you are a traveler, you're going to be in multiple jurisdictions. So you should kind of understand the culture of the area, the neighborhood, and where it is that you are actually hanging out. Because let's say there's a city here in Florida that touts that it has no homeless because the cops will pick you up and put you out of town, put you out of their jurisdiction because you're not allowed to be homeless in their jurisdiction. And this is how they move all the homeless along in one of their cities, just right outside of Gainesville. I've been through it a couple of times. If you guys have heard me talk about the time I almost went to jail because I didn't realize I was in a school zone, that was that city. Okay, so you need to understand what's going on. Like, you might also want to talk to the other homeless in the area as you come across them. Hey, what are the cops like? Okay, are they going to come harass me? Are they looking for me, or is it just if somebody gets a call? Like, are you top priority, or are you like bottom priority as far as their priorities go? And in most localities, just because of how dangerous everything's getting, the homeless are just keep dropping down in priorities unless they're getting called on. Then they become the priority, especially if it's an emergency call, such as drugs, violence, theft, things like that. Well, then the cops are going to be there. Now, the cops do keep an eye on the local homeless, so don't be surprised when you're walking down the street and a cop slow rolls and just stares you down because he's looking you up and down going, okay, that's a new homeless person. So, you need to also be thoughtful of that because there was a city that I was in where when I was in Maryland and I got the nightcat, the nightcat hammock, that city there, when I went up into the downtown areas, the cops started handing me off and they started following me around because I was a new homeless. And I even talked to the locals there. They're like, yeah, these cops they're something else. Okay. Just not down here. Anywhere else you want to go? Like, we found a spot. We were never bothered. Nobody ever bothered us. But, I know how to bury myself in. Okay. But, understanding the attitude of the locale, what priority the homeless are and stuff like that, that's extremely important. And it will help ease your mind about, being safe that night. Okay, so if you remember in step 3, we said locations, urban versus rural. But in step 6, that decision is going to make whether we're going to be stealth camping or whether we're going to be sleeping on a street corner. Okay, so here, let me give you the basics of the standard operating procedure for any city. There are some cities, like there's one here in Florida, where in the downtown area they blast music because they're trying to run the homeless out of downtown. They're trying to push them out into the rural areas. Okay, but for the most part, um, here's the way it works with property rights. Okay, you've got the sidewalk, but then you've got this little alcove that bends in, right? Okay, so when this alcove bends in, well, that's their property. So now you're on private property, you're not on public property. Okay, so when you're sleeping in that little alcove, you're going to want to make sure that you go in after the business closes. One of the things I've done at times is, especially if I show up early, because I know that they're like a place that closes around 3 or 4, I'll show up probably about 3:30 and wait for it. And I even go in and talk to the staff and say, hey, look, I've been sleeping in front of your door for the last 3 days. You probably don't even notice. Okay. So just to let you know, don't get freaked out or anything else like that. I'm the guy that's sleeping there. If you got any issues, just let me know. We'll fix it. Okay. So this gives you an opportunity, especially if you want to have a regular sleeping spot in a city, in an urban area. This is some of the things that you're going to have to do. If you notice, all of this boils down to communication and trust and comfort. If you can ease their comfort, build trust, and communicate, you can sleep anywhere you want as long as you get the ability to talk to somebody, or at least, figure out a way, like, how do I find contact with somebody? Okay. Because when you're doing stealth camping, you guys have seen me do quite a few videos. And if you want to know a little bit more in depth about stealth camping, if you pay attention to this video right here, you will be able to see it. And okay, but yeah, you need to figure out how to do stealth camping. Okay, and then lastly, your urgency to vacate. Okay, if a business opens up at 6 a.m., you need to be up by 5 and out the door by 5:30, 5:45, because they're probably showing up by about 5:30, 5:45. The last thing you want them doing is kicking you to say you need to get up, I need to get in to go to work and stuff like that. That's an annoyance. You're going to burn out the spot. Okay, if you make sure that if you're going to sleep in an alcove and you're going to stay there, a little bit longer, make sure that you don't go, that you're not sleeping in front of the main entrance. Okay, if it takes you a little bit longer to get together, but understanding the urgency to vacate. Like when I'm stealth camping right now because of the Florida laws and just kind of all the crazy stuff that's going on, I set my alarm for 6:15. It doesn't get light until about 7:15. So I've got an hour, but I sit there in the dark and I pack my stuff up. And, as it gets lighter, I can see more and more things. So therefore I pack more and more stuff up. So therefore I'm using the light. I'm not shining a flashlight. I'm not doing anything else like that. But understanding the urgency to vacate is extremely, extremely important. Okay, guys, if you want to know more about stealth camping, look at this video. If you would like to know more about, how to be able to do urban camping, look at this video here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and everything else down in the description.